Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, the main event, title versus title, Metallica, forklifts. We've got it all. Just a regular, very regular entrance for both men coming out here. I was expecting like this was going to be, it seemed like this year, like they really went all out on some of these entrances, but this was a very just by the numbers appearance with Reigns coming out with the bloodline and then Reigns coming out in his fighter shorts and belt. And that was it.
I was honestly expecting a bit more for the biggest WrestleMania match of all time.
Yeah, I thought like maybe, Roman Reigns like coming down from heaven as from God mode, like he comes down from the heavens, and then you have Brock like in on a rides a horse. Yeah. I guess that if it hadn't screwed up that year with Hunter, maybe horses would have been an option, but probably dangerous to be trying that. So Heyman introduces Roman, and then Brock introduces himself, and we've got Cole and Graves on commentary. Pat McAfee, he's done for the night, and Lesnar takes off his gloves. So we're getting bare knuckle Brock in this main event of WrestleMania, and he controls Reigns early. He hits a pair of belly to bellies, and then Heyman is luring Lesnar on the floor, and it leads to a spear through the barricade, and Lesnar's got to struggle to get back into the ring. Reigns hits him with a spear and then hits him with a Superman punch. Lesnar is wobbled on the mat, struggles to get up, and then hit with another one, and he gets up and he's smiling. He avoids the third one, and he hits a series of German suplexes. The F5 gets stopped. He takes another Superman punch, but the spear gets caught, and he hits an F5, and Reigns kicks out. So it is our video game spam finisher, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns sprint from this point forward. And Reigns then comes back with a spear to Lesnar, but this takes out Chad Patton, the referee. And Reigns hits a low blow and gets the belt from Heyman, so we get a belt shot to Lesnar. Although no blood in this match, for all that they made about like the bleeding and the lead up to this, and Lesnar coming for blood, they had none here. So I was surprised by that. I was, especially with the belt shot. I thought, okay, this is where we're going to introduce blood, and Lesnar's going to try and make Reigns bleed as well.
Completely. Yeah. I think that's absolutely what helped things. And the fact that they teased it throughout the entirety of the story. You're right. Like, it's surprising that they didn't go there. Maybe
they found out that we get only one image of blood all night, and AJ's got it.
He used it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we're going to do a spot where Reigns' shoulder is dislocated. Well, AJ's also doing that. So guys, they're like, no, we're doing the shoulder spot. So there's a spear from behind by Reigns, as they note, hey, maybe he was taking notes from Lashley with Omos earlier. And Reigns hits the regular spear, but after hitting it, Lesnar applies a deep Kimura, and he's just wrenching on this arm. And Reigns has to stretch and reach the rope, and you have Paul Heyman, who is just pleading and telling him that this is all for your family. I believe in you. I love you. And Reigns is saying his shoulder is out, and it ends up where Lesnar comes at him, goes for an F5. It's countered, and Reigns just hits a spear and pins him in 12 minutes and 18 seconds. So, yeah, he was like saying like the shoulder was out, but I took that.
Didn't really play into the finish.
It didn't play at all. Like, they went right to the finish. So I assume this was just part of it. But you also have Brock here that's got your arm and might not have been as careful. But nonetheless, the match ends 12 minutes, 18 seconds. I will say this was the third WrestleMania match. The first one was a classic, I thought, even before you did the Rollins cash-in. The second one in New Orleans was a unmitigated disaster, and this was kind of somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. Fun for a while it lasted, but I also didn't feel it was this great epic either.
Well, it certainly didn't steal the weekend, and it didn't even really steal the night. Perhaps
I don't think this was match of the night. I would put Edge and AJ ahead of this.
Yeah, and for a match that they were building up as, again, the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, it's on all the posters. It is headlining a 2-night WrestleMania. This really is the official main event. I think you could maybe look at it with a bit of disappointment because it offered, again, so much of, I think, what made this WrestleMania so successful was the element of surprise, and this match offered none of it. it was a pretty typical Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match. Go in there, hit your finishers, hit them a lot, and that works. It certainly helps because you have two very over characters. But I think when you're talking about the culmination of such a long built storyline, you're expecting some more twists and turns, whether in the form of something with Paul Heyman, something. But instead, the result was very typical and a finish that didn't feel that climactic actually.
Yeah, I would say, that is like when you do this incredible promotion for a match, the expectation is high, and that's not on the fan base. That is on you. You have built this in such a way, and they came in, it was a 12-minute match, and I think it was kind of your standard fare of what you would expect out of a Reigns and Lesnar match. You did get a clean finish. He lifts up both belts, although he's struggling with the shoulder to lift the other belt as well. And Reigns, it's just everything is Reigns dominating coming out of this. I will say that, going into this weekend, it was, the idea of keeping it on Reigns. We both assumed Reigns would win this match, and it's having those contenders ready. And I would say with Lashley winning, with Edge winning, with Drew McIntyre winning, with Cody Rhodes coming in, you do have some options of different. I don't see them going like with Edge, but with McIntyre, Lashley, Cody, I would wait. I would not go to that one immediately, but I think that's very much what we're going to hear on Monday. Cody's doing a promo, and that will be the journey of this character, is going for the world championship his father never won. And that should be a really big story when you get to it. But also very curious about Brock after this. Where he goes. This did feel like the end of it. I don't think this is one where you rematch it in a month.
Maybe not. Yeah. But maybe we don't even get Roman, defending the championship if they're trying to sell some sort of shoulder injury coming.
You know what? Maybe he disappears for a pay-per-view cycle or two after this. Your champion is injured and he will come back, and then that becomes tough. You don't have a world champion, but you
have Ronda Charlotte, which I think will probably get a rematch. That might headline. Maybe you'll do Bianca and Becky again, or Bianca versus somebody else. But I don't see really any other reason to do a shoulder injury at the very end of a match other than to maybe, write him off for a little bit. So.
You're probably right. You don't have to rush into a program immediately for Reigns. I think for Lesnar, he is advertised for Backlash. I think a cool idea, because these characters, they've never been in alignment to have a program together. And I think it'd be a great follow-up from WrestleMania is tomorrow night in Dallas, Kevin Owens comes out, and you think that he is going to be remorseful for what he said to Texas, but instead it's, I hate this place. All of you, your stupid cowboy hats, and out walks Brock with the cowboy hat, and he is there. And he kills this guy at the end of TV. The crowd cheers. Brock is happy. He's moved on from Reigns. And I think an Owens-Lesnar program at this state, with Lesnar as a babyface and Owens as a heel, I think that's it feels like a fresh program for Brock.
That sounds like a fun segment and a fun promo, but in no way do I think Kevin Owens is strong enough to be able to handle a program with Brock Lesnar, especially.
You don't think so?
Well, as just the perceived level of contender that he is. Kevin Owens just lost to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he himself is in need of rehabbing before being able to be built up to, that main event status. I'm just saying to me, I don't think that they would think of it as attractive enough.
Well, this also wouldn't be a main event. This wouldn't necessarily even be your main event at Backlash if you don't.
So essentially you're just trying to sell people into a squash match, aren't you?
No, I think you can have a competitive match with these two.
But then you're going to have to book a Kevin Owens like he's a credible threat,
Well, I think coming out of this, I think Owens is going to be a pretty significant heel on the Raw side, a very significant heel.
Yeah, I hope so.
And this really elevates his status by working with Brock. Brock's on this show, so if Reigns is not there, who else with Brock? You could go back. It's that, or you go back to Lashley, because that's kind of unresolved too.
Well, this is why, because this is the tough task with Brock Lesnar as a babyface. To have an opposition against Brock Lesnar that is believable and credible, you don't have many options. You have Roman Reigns,
and Lashley's a babyface now, so
you have Roman, who's the strongest booked guy on the show, and Bobby Lashley, who I think has been booked tremendously well. But who else, can they convince the audience that actually, that can have a 20-minute or 10-minute even match with Brock Lesnar? because I love to know the follow up for any of these people that are, especially the ones that are involved in these sort of like semi celebrity angles, like a Kevin Owens or a Sami Zayn.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see many of these characters that are, that were attached to either celebrities or not full-timers that are coming out of WrestleMania, and where they're slotted into everything. I think like there's a bit more interest than most Manias, mainly around Cody, because of him coming in and what that direction is going to be.